When I grow up, I want to file all day.
I want to claw my way up to middle management. Be replaced on a whim. I want to have a brown nose.
I want to be a yes man.
Yes woman.
Yes, sir. Coming, sir.
Anything for a raise, sir.
When I grow up,
I want to be underappreciated.
be paid less for doing the same job.
I want to be forced into early retirement.
We're going to be discussing school-based enterprises. Hopefully, if you have a successful school-based enterprise, your students will learn what it means to be a part of the job market. Often students have unrealistic expectations, or they don't understand what's involved in being a part of a business, as demonstrated by our previous video. Now, during this session, we'll focus on the 3 steps to actually implementing the school-based enterprise on your campus. In addition, you'll have the opportunity to hear from other professionals throughout the Northwest Florida region who currently have successful school-based enterprises conducted on their campuses. Nationwide, the unemployment rates for individuals with disabilities are virtually twice those of individuals without disabilities. As a result, as educators, it's imperative that we develop in our students the skills needed to be competitive in the job market. A school-based enterprise is a wonderful way to promote and develop skills needed in the workplace. Business leaders have indicated that not only do they need individuals who have a specific skill set, but that skill set needs to include appropriate social skills. School-based enterprises provide a wonderful means by which we can provide students the opportunity to develop the skills that they will need in order to participate fully in the job market. Career readiness is something that's difficult for all people, especially for individuals with a disability. It involves connecting a person's education with employment opportunities in an effort to have a career that's not only financially secure, but fulfilling for the person as well. It involves a variety of pieces, such as academic and technical skills, as well as a workplace knowledge, and all of this will work together to result in success for the individual. It's really a lifelong process, and as individuals, they move through these different stages in their lives, they develop these skills along the way. Now, when working with our students, we want to make every attempt to make sure that not only are they self-determined, but they know where they're headed and how we're going to promote independence within them. When working to develop a school-based enterprise, there are 3 basic steps: the planning phase, the implementation phase, and the evaluation phase. We're going to be discussing all 3 of these different phases. We'll begin by discussing the planning phase. The first part of the planning phase involves actually developing a mission. Now, your mission should reflect the purpose of your business. You also want to keep in mind that you want to incorporate the company's vision and values together. Now, determining the company's vision is going to provide an excellent opportunity to discuss goal setting with your students. In addition, values need to be an important aspect of the school-based enterprise. Students need to realize that not only do they need to have values in their personal lives, but in their businesses as well. The next step in the planning phase is to develop a name and a logo. Your name should be reflective of what your company is actually about or what it's going to be selling. Now, a logo can be developed in conjunction with a local media department if you have one within your school. Also, if you have students who are artistically inclined, this is a great opportunity to let them use those skills. When you think about the power of a logo, oftentimes we are able to associate logos with companies immediately. On the next slide, I'm going to show you a series of logos that represent either institutions or major companies, and I want you to see if you can connect what the company is with the logo. So here are the logos, and let's see how many of these you can actually figure out. On the top left-hand side is Pepsi. On the bottom left is Volkswagen. On the top right is Nike. On the bottom right is Microsoft. And in the center is my all-time favorite, Florida State University. Once you've developed your name, and if you've had an opportunity to develop a logo, you're going to need some money to begin the process of the school-based enterprise. This tends to be the most difficult aspect of starting a school-based enterprise. Where will you get your money? Well, grants are an excellent way to obtain funds to actually begin your school-based enterprise. Now, in business, you typically have to solicit at least 10 individuals in an effort to land 1 to 3 clients. So don't give up if you experience rejection. Just keep applying until you reach your goal. Now, at the end, I will give you some examples of places that you can actually go to try to receive grant money for your school-based enterprise. Step 3 in the planning phase is developing leadership. Now you need to determine who's going to be in charge of the enterprise. Is one person ultimately going to be in charge, or are you going to have different people in charge of different aspects of the business? Now, while you're determining the structure of management for the enterprise, it's a great opportunity to discuss the importance of having leadership qualities with your students. Now, employee resources will change from year to year based on the students in your classes, so you need to keep this in mind when you're picking leadership. Step 4 in the planning phase involves selecting your market. Who ultimately are your customers going to be? Now, sometimes this is going to be obvious. If you're strictly targeting the school population, then you know that's who your target market is. Sometimes, though, you may want to develop sub-markets within the school population. For example, in some schools, they actually sell coffee and drinks and snacks. And so what they do is they have a sub-market where they target sports teams. And they go to those sports matches and they're able to sell their products there. The next step in the planning phase is advertising. If you have an opportunity to pair up with your school's media team to develop some advertising for you, that's your best opportunity to maximize your resources. In a few moments, I'm going to give you an opportunity to see an advertisement that was created for a local school-based enterprise by the media team at their high school. If you'll remember, there are 3 parts to developing the school-based enterprise. The first phase was the planning phase. Now we're going to move into the implementation phase. During the implementation phase, you want to have ongoing assessments. Now, while assessing the school-based enterprise, think not only in terms of how the overall business is performing, but also keep in mind, is the individual making progress toward their personal goals? These goals can actually appear on the student's IEP. You may also choose to use a specific assessment to determine if your students are making progress toward their goals. In Santa Rosa County, they actually choose to use the ELSA to determine which 18 to 22-year-old programs their students will participate in. And so I've put a copy of the ELSA in here for you to view. Another aspect of the implementation phase is you really need to focus on communication. Make sure you're very intentional about keeping the lines of communication open and direct between all stakeholders in your school-based enterprise. Develop ways to share information among the team members, keeping in mind that some of your team members may not even see one another if they are in different class periods. Now, you may decide that you want to have team meetings or weekly business meetings with the students. At some point, if you can encourage your students to lead these meetings, that's best practice. While implementing the school-based enterprise on your campus, make sure that you monitor those daily operations. Monitor the schedule. Is the schedule working? And then how are you going to handle your money? Are you earning a profit? And if so, what do you need to do with those profits? These are all questions that you want to think about during the implementation phase. You also want to think about budgeting, and it's important for your school-based enterprise to keep accurate financial records. Students need to understand the concept of expenses, and then budgeting is going to provide them with a means by which they can learn about concepts like risk and reward, how do you grow a business, how time management can have a direct effect on the financial outcomes of the business, and also efficiency and the importance of efficiency in the final outcome. You may also want to consider the opportunities that you have within your community to create partnerships with local businesses or agencies. What you see in this particular slide is a group of high school students who operate a school-based enterprise. What they do each week is take the profits from their school-based enterprise and they use those to go on community-based instruction activities. Here, they're visiting the Blue Wahoo Stadium in Pensacola, Florida. In a few moments, you'll have an opportunity to actually hear from the instructor who leads this particular group of students. Now remember, there's 3 phases to developing this school-based enterprise. We discussed the planning phase, the implementation phase, and now we're going to look at the evaluation phase. Now ultimately, your successful school-based enterprise has involved evaluating your goals as a part of the implementation phase. But in the evaluation phase, what you're really looking at is teaching your students the importance of identifying overall trends that are associated with your business. It's also important to take time to delve into a critique of the school-based enterprise. Not only do you want to involve your students in this process, but you want to take time to receive input from various sources, whether it's other teachers on the campus, business partners that you've developed within the community, or your actual customers. Now, things you want to discuss are individual progress that your students are making, the quality of the school-based enterprise, actual skills that are being developed in your students, and ultimately, is the business meeting its target? The final part of the evaluation phase is how are you going to sustain your business? You need to be diligent about coming up with a plan for sustainability. Some issues that you probably want to consider would be what happens if you have to leave. Can someone else come in and the business does not have to fold? That also applies to students. If you have specific students who are very strong leaders, how can you develop leadership in other students so that if certain students graduate or leave, that the business doesn't fold? In addition, you want to think about how are you going to maintain your profits? Is your market changing? If so, how are you going to keep up with that market? I think the key is adaptability. And so you're constantly looking for opportunities for growth and for ways for you to grow and change along with the business.